Hello, students. So, in the previous chapter, we had studied about that of the compound. We studied that what are the different types, different properties of the compound, and with the help of iron and sulfur, we studied that how compound the components which is present in that of the compound they combine with each other in a fixed proportion by mass, as well as we studied that these compound when they combine together, actually there is a change in their chemical properties, and due to which there is a formation of a totally new substance whose property is different from that of the component which is involved in it. As well as we studied that how a compound is a homogeneous mixture. Okay, and how these compounds cannot be separated by any physical method or physical means. We also study that when a compound or a compound can be differentiated, or how a compound is different from that of the mixture on the basis of their properties. Okay, what is the basic difference between that of the compound to the mixture. Now we will start with the another topic, and that is solution, suspension and colloids. Okay, so we will start with the solution. So solution is what? It is a type of a mixture, and this mixture is actually a homogeneous mixture. So we had discussed about the homogeneous mixture also. Mixture which cannot be separated by simply seeing it, or we cannot separate the component by looking at it, as well as you can say that it is having a uniform composition, or the solute is widely distributed or properly distributed in the solution. Okay, so it is a kind of a homogeneous mixture which consisting of a two thing, that is a solute and that of the solvent. Okay, so it is basically consisting of a two type of a component, one is solute and that of the solvent, which forms a homogeneous mixture, and that a special type of a mixture is known as a solution. Now solution involve one substance dissolving in another substance which is usually a liquid. So here it involves two different type of a substance. One substance is there which dissolve in the another substance, and that another substance which is dissolving this substance must be a liquid. Now see here, this is a homogeneous mixture with consisting of a solute and a solvent. Now the question arises, what is a solute and what is a solvent? So solute is what? It is a solid part that get dissolved. So solute is basically a solid part which get dissolved. Okay, which we dissolved. And solvent, it is a liquid part that does the dissolving. So solute is that part which get dissolved, and the solvent is the liquid part which does dissolving. So here you see it was written that a solution involve one substance which dissolve in the another substance which is usually a liquid. When we dissolve one substance into the another substance, that defines the solution, or that forms the solution. Here also it is the same thing. A component is there which is a solid substance which get dissolved into a substance which is a liquid part and help a solid substance to dissolve in it properly. We can understand it with the help of these two examples. The example of a solute is a salt or a sugar, while that of the solvent is a water. So if suppose you are salt and sugar, it is a solid one, while that of the water, it is a liquid one. So when you take a pinch of a sugar, or when you take a spoonful sugar and add that part of a sugar in the water, then what will happen? This sugar, which is a solute, which is a solid part, it get dissolved in the liquid part of the water. You know that water, it dissolves the substance present in it. So it will dissolve the sugar or the salt which you will add in it. Okay, so here the sugar, when dissolved in the water, which is the solvent, both of them together formed a solution, and that solution is known as a sugar solution. So sugar mixed with that of the water to form sugar solution. Okay, you can see here. So here it combined with the solute or solvent. So you can see here it is a solute, which is maybe a salt or a sugar. When you take this salt or the sugar from that of the from here to the solvent part, then it will form a solution. You can see here salt is a solute. When it present in that of the water, it will form a salt solution. Now see here, that sugar solution, it can be a salt solution or it can be any of the solution. Okay, so when a solute, it reacts or it get dissolved in the solvent, then it forms a solution. Now with this, there is one more thing. You can see here the amount of that of the solute as compared to the water is less, or the amount of the solvent as compared to that of the solute is more. So we can also define it like that, that the substance which is lesser in amount in solution or is known as solute, or a substance which is greater in amount which is present in the solution is known as solvent. By this we can say that the solute is always present in a solution in a lesser amount, or the solvent is always taken in a greater amount in a solution. So solute is less in amount and the solvent is greater in amount. So by this we can say that a substance which is lesser in amount in a solution is solute, and the substance which is greater in a solution is known as solvent. So there are two definitions of the solute and solvent. The one, a substance which get dissolved to form the solution is solute, and the substance which help in dissolving the solute is known as is the solvent. Okay, or according to the amount, a substance which is less in amount is a solute, a substance greater in amount is a solvent. Now one more thing is there, when we talk about the solute and the solvent, there is another term is used, that is dispersed particle and the dispersion medium. So don't get confused with these two terms, they are actually the same thing. When we talk about the dispersed particle, then you understand that it is nothing, it is talking about the solute particles. So dispersed particles is or dispersed phase. Dispersed particles or dispersed phase, it is talking about the solute or the solute particles. When we talk about the dispersed medium or dispersion medium, it is simply talking about the solvent molecule. Okay, so dispersed particle is the solute particle, and dispersion medium is known as that of the solvent. So this dispersed phase or dispersed particle and dispersed medium we will study when we talk about that of the colloids. Okay, colloids, they differ in size of the solute particle, so there we use another term for that, and that is known as the dispersed particle. And the dispersed particle is dissolved or it is present in a dispersion medium which we called as a solvent. Okay, now when we talk in that of the solution, there is a term which is used frequently, and that is the aqueous solution and that of the non-aqueous solution. So what is the aqueous solution? Aqueous, this term comes from aqua. Aqua means water. I think you all have heard about the AquaGuard. So what is the AquaGuard? Is this a machine which guard that of the water, or which protect the water from getting impure, okay, or which protect water from impurities. Okay, so aqua is what? It is the term which we use for the water. Okay, so when we talk about the aqueous solution, it means the solvent which we are using, it is a water. And we know that the water is the most common solvent, or that's why it is known as a universal solvent, because it has a tendency to dissolve as much as solute can be possible. So a lot of the substances, it get dissolved in the water, and that's why the water is known as a universal solvent. So when we take solvent, when we take water as a solvent, that solvent is known as the aqueous solvent, and the solution which is prepared by taking water as a solvent is known as the aqueous solution. Instead of that of the water, there are some solute which are not able to get dissolved in that of the water. Okay, so where they get dissolved? So they get dissolved in some of the organic liquids, okay, or we can say some of the organic solvent. So these organic solvent may be an alcohol, may be an ether, or a benzene, or a carbon disulfide, or a carbon tetrachloride. So these are the organic liquid, organic solvent which dissolve the solute, which are not properly get dissolved in the water. So the solution which is made by dissolving solute in organic solvent or in organic liquid, they are known as non-aqueous solution. So there are solutions which get dissolved in the water. That kind of a solution is known as an aqueous solution. You can understand with the term of aqua. If aqua is given, it means solvent is a water. If a non-aqua is given, it means solvent is not a water. So if it is not a water, then it will be an organic solvent which includes the alcohol, ether, benzene and other one. Okay, so this is the basic difference between that of the aqueous solution and that of the non-aqueous solution. Now, in spite of a solute, a solvent, or an aqueous or a non-aqueous solution, there is another term, and that is solubility. Now, a solute can dissolve in that of the solvent. Okay, there are some of the solute which can easily dissolve, and there are some of the solute which cannot be easily dissolved in a certain solvent. So that degree of measurement in which a solute can easily dissolve in a solvent is property which defines that of the solubility. So we can say the solubility is a property in which we measure that how a solute can be easily dissolved in the solvent. So by this we can say that the solute which get dissolved very easily and that too very quickly, they are having a high solubility, like that of the salt in water. If you add the salt in water, salt will get easily dissolved in it, so its solubility is very high. But a soluble or a solute which does not get dissolved in a solvent easily, that we called it having a low solubility, okay, like that of the sand in water. So by this we are able to understand that the degree of soluble, how a solute is soluble in that of the solvent define its solubility. If it is easily dissolved in a solvent, then it is highly soluble or high solubility it will possess. And if a solute does not get easily dissolved in a solvent, it is we can say it is a less soluble. We always use a term, it is a soluble, it is a insoluble. So here it is insoluble, so we can say insoluble or it is less soluble. That's why it is having a property of a low solubility. Okay, so this is a solubility. Now when we talk about the solution, there are the types of a solution also. So we will start with the dilute and the concentrated solution. Dilute on a concentrated. To try to understand dilute, it means the amount of water is more, okay, or you can say the amount of the solvent is more, then that solution is known as a dilute solution. So we can understand it like this, that if a solution is having very small amount of a solute in it, is called the dilute solution. So if we are adding only a few pinch of a solute in a solvent, then the amount of the solute will be less, but the amount of the solvent will be more. So we can say that solution is a dilute solution. You can understand it in a term that solution in which if the amount of water is more, then we can say it is a dilute solution, amount of water or amount of solvent. Concentrated, in which we can say the amount of water is equal or amount of water is less than that of the solute in which is solute which is added in it. Okay, so if just opposite to this definition, that if a good amount of or a large amount of solute is present in a solution, that solution is a concentrated solution. Okay, one more thing is there, student, that how can we make a concentrated dilute? By adding a water in it, we can simply convert this concentrated solution into a dilute solution. If any object is there, if any substance is there which is concentrated, so by adding water in it, what you will do, you will increase the number of a solvent in it, and you know that if the solvent is more than that of the solute, then solution will be known as a dilute solution. So we can convert the concentrated solution into the dilute solution by adding water in it. Now we will come to the next one, that is a saturated solution. Okay, so we studied about the solution in which we added a solute and that of the solvent together to form the solution. Now suppose if a solution is there and you added only 2 teaspoons of sugar in it. Okay, so after adding, it become a solution, it become a sugar solution. Then you are continuously increasing the number of a solute in it, or you can say that you are continuously adding the sugar in the solvent. Okay, so at first you added only two spoonful of a sugar, then again you added two more, then you added two more, then you added two more. That by this you are continuously increasing the amount of a solute in it. Then what happened? After some time, at a certain temperature, especially when you at a certain temperature, here we are talking about the room temperature only. So what happened, if you're continuously adding the solute in a solvent, after some time you will observe that even then you are adding the solute in it, the number of a solute, or we can say the sugar, did not get dissolved in it after some time, but it gets settled at the bottom of the glass or the tumbler in which you had taken the water in it. Okay, so here what happened, at first when you were adding the sugar in it, it was properly get dissolved in it, but later on, consequently when you are adding it again and again, then after some time you will see that the amount of a sugar, if you are adding more, even then also it does not get dissolved, but few amount of a sugar gets settled down, or is present at the base of at the bottom of that glass. Why is it so? Actually, after some time, the sugar, it will not get properly dissolved in it, and that stage is known as a saturated stage. So we can say that saturated stage is that stage at which the sugar is not, or the solute cannot get dissolved into a solvent. Okay, so the stage at which no more solute can be held by that of the solvent is known as a saturated solution. So basically what happened, this question may come to your mind that earlier when we are adding the sugar, it was properly get dissolved, then what happened after some time that it does not get dissolved in it properly? So basically what happens, student, in the first chapter we have studied that all the water particles are having voids in it, they are having a space between them. So at first when you were adding that sugar, then these sugar particles get interlocked in that of the void. Okay, but after some time continuously adding that of the sugar, all these voids, all these spaces get reserved, or it get covered by the other sugar particles. Okay, so there is no, you can say there is no vacant space for, or there is no voids available for the coming sugar. Okay, and that's why the sugar which you are adding is not getting dissolved in it. Okay, so that stage at which no more voids is available for the solute particle to be present in that of the solvent, or we can say that the stage at which the solvent cannot hold any of the solute in it, that stage is known as a saturated state. And we can say the solution, when it reaches to this stage, is known as a saturated solution. So the solution at which no more solute can be added in the solvent, or when it cannot hold any more solute at a room temperature or at a certain temperature in the solvent, that solution is known as a saturated solution. Now, in that saturated solution, if you add the solute, it will not get added in it. But if suppose you heat that of the saturated solution, or if you heat that solvent at a certain temperature, then what happens again, if you add the more solute in it, the solute will get dissolved in it properly, or more solute can be added into it. So now the solution which can be dissolved, or a solution in which more solute can be added than a normal solution can dissolve, that solution is known as a supersaturated solution. Here it is simply talking about that in a saturated solution, it was at the room temperature. We are not providing any kind of a temperature. So at a normal state, it can add a certain amount of a solute in it. But afterward, when you provide heat to it, it will get, or it will gain the capacity to add more solute in it. Okay, so now that solution is known as a supersaturated solution, in which more solute can be added than it can normally dissolve. Okay, now we will see that how can we study the property of a solution. So we are saying that the solution, it is actually a homogeneous mixture, and when we talk about a homogeneous mixture, it means that the solvent as well as that of the solute particle, they are spread throughout the solvent properly, okay, or they are evenly distributed in the solvent. So they are having a uniform composition that defines that it is a homogeneous substance. Okay, so it should be a homogeneous substance, or we can say that the first property of the solution, that it is a homogeneous mixture. Then see here, no residue is left or undissolved. The second property is that no residue is left after filtration. Here what does that mean? That if suppose you are making this solution which is homogeneous mixture, and if you take in a filter paper and you filter this solution, if suppose it is a sugar solution, so sugar solution is what? Is a solution only, is a true solution. So if you take in a filter paper and you want to filter the solution, then after filtering the solution, even then also you will find that there is no residue. Residue means undissolved solid, okay, which will be present on that of the filter paper. So if you want to separate that of the residue, if you think that it can be separated with the help of the filter paper, and if you separate it with the help of the filter paper, then you will find that there is no residue is left behind. Okay, so no residue is left after filtration, or we can say that the particles of this solution can easily pass through the filter paper. Okay, or we can say the solution which is prepared with the help of a solute and that of the solvent, it cannot be separated simply by that of the filtration process. Now when we see the third property of the solution, so you see here, no separation of a solute and solvent when left to stand. So if suppose you make a sugar, or when you take the sugar with that of the water, then you will find if you shake it well and you will keep it left undisturbed for some time, and after that when you notice, then you will notice that the sugar particle, it does not settle down even on keeping the solution for a good time. Okay, so if you keep the solution for a certain period of a time, even then also you will find that the sugar particle which is present in the solution, it does not get settled there, it does not get settled down. So there will be no separation of the solute and solvent when left to stand, like that of the sand and water. If suppose you added sand in that of the water, and if you keep it undisturbed for some time, then what you will observe, that after some time this sand will get settled down properly. Okay, that is known as a sedimentation also. So here the separation of the solute and sand solvent cannot be done when it is left undisturbed for some time. Now next property of the solution is that if suppose you dissolve sugar particle into that of the water and you mix it and make a sugar solution, then is it possible for you to tell that where is the sugar particle present in the water by simply looking at it? No, because that solution is actually a transparent solution. Transparent. Okay, so we are not able to recognize the sugar particle in it, not only by looking it with the naked eyes, but even if we try with the help of a simple microscope, even then also we are not able to see the dissolved sugar particle in it. Okay, what does that mean? It means that the size of the solute particle or the size of the sugar particle in the solution is very small or is extremely small. Okay, now last property of that of the solution, light is able to completely pass through the solution. Now see here, the sugar particles which is present in the sugar solution is very small, and due to this they do not scatter the beam of light which we are providing to it or which are passing through it, and as it does not scatter the light, the path is not visible. Because you know that when the particles they reflect, only then only the things are visible or the path is visible. Okay, and since the sugar particles are present in it are so small, so they cannot reflect the light rays which are falling on them. So here you can say the light is able to completely pass through the solution without getting reflected by that of the sugar particle. Okay, and that's why paths are not visible to us. So we can conclude the properties of the solution. The first property is the solution, it is homogeneous in nature. Okay, it is a homogeneous mixture which cannot be visible, or the visible boundary cannot be seen between the components. The second one is the size of the solute particle is extremely small. So even it is less than that of the 1 nanometer in diameter. Here 1 nanometer is equals to 10 the power minus 9 meter. Okay, so in the sum book it is written that it is less than 10 the power minus 9 meter or less than 1 nanometer in diameter. Both are same. Then the third one, the particles are extremely small that even it cannot be seen with the help of a microscope also. Then the particle of the solution, it cannot pass through the filter paper. The particles are very small and due to which it cannot be passed through filter paper. So we can say that the solution, it cannot be separated by the process of filtration. Then the third one is it do not separate by that of filtration. So particles, they are very stable. So the solution, the particle of the solute which is present in the solution, it do not separate simply by keeping it left undisturbed for sometimes. Okay, so they do not, we can say that they does not get settled down even then by keeping the solution for some time. Then the last one is it does not scatter light. So a true solution, the particles, they are very small, and due to which when you provide a beam of a light on it, the particles, they cannot reflect the light rays falling on them. So these are the different properties of the solution which differ from the other one when we talk about the that of the colloids and the suspension.